Looks like everyone is on board. Welcome, Commissioner Marino. Welcome, Commissioner Mack. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
The first agenda item is the call to order. The time is 10:31 a.m. on Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. We have a quorum. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Lilly, Chairman of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. On behalf of my fellow board members and the hundreds of TABC employees across the state, thank you for joining us today for this emergency meeting. From the onset of this COVID-19 crisis, the commissioners, General Nettles, Executive Director, his dedicated team have worked diligently with industry members, legislators, and members of the governor's strike force to open up Texas to assist the more than 56,000 members affected in this pandemic. We're here today to continue that commitment to assist an industry that is struggling. And I would like to also offer our thoughts, prayers, and concerns to all of our fellow citizens, our employees of this agency, as well as members of industry that are currently in the path of these two storms. As a Houstonian, resident of the Texas Gulf Coast, I know that at this very moment, there are both mandatory and voluntary evacuations. Galveston is now mandatory. I believe Beaumont, east of Houston, is voluntary. I have two children currently in evacuation to their grandparents. And so I recognize that in an industry that has already been struggling with maintaining a new business model and trying to survive, we now are faced with the potential for millions of our citizens along the Texas Gulf Coast to be further disrupted by power outages and, unfortunately, potentially damage. So our thoughts are with all those that are currently on the road, leaving their homes, and those that are preparing. And in the next 24 hours, obviously, much will be learned in this. So back to the business of this meeting now. Under the governor's executive order GA 28, which currently determines how businesses may operate, restaurants are open for limited capacity seating, as you know, and bars, which derive more than 51% of their revenue from the sale of alcohol, are closed. TABC worked with all stakeholders, many of which, as a result of our last meeting, to develop guidance that allows businesses to qualify as a restaurant under GA 28. This has resulted in more businesses, including breweries, wineries, and distilleries, being able to reopen while still complying with the executive order. Today, we're going to take an additional step. We're scheduled to review and vote on an emergency rule that TABC staff had developed to offer more flexibility to those wishing to apply for food and beverage certificate. It is one more example demonstrating how this agency is working with industry to find ways for business to operate safely. I will say, since our last meeting, a number of us, or all the commissioners, have reached out to members of industry. I've had several meetings, phone calls, face-to-face as well, with members of industry, bar owners throughout the city, or throughout the state, rather. We've heard you and we've heard your concerns. We've taken some very positive suggestions, and the agency has been proactive. Now, I understand that not everyone at the conclusion of this meeting is going to be happy. There are those that will still feel that we are not doing enough as an agency, and I recognize your concern. I also want to applaud those in the industry that are taking these provisions that we have made, some may call them concessions, and following the guidance that we are going to provide. I think that it is incumbent upon the industry to do this. Like in anything else, if 99% follow guidance, obey the law, if you will, and 1% don't, it seems that sometimes the sins of the few affect the virtues of the many. And so as we proceed today, we do so with a strong understanding that this is indeed a partnership, that as a regulatory and law enforcement agency, we have a job to do. We will continue to do that job. We'll continue to do that job to make sure that these provisions that we are going to discuss today are followed exactly. No compromise, because they're going to be very clearly spelled out. So the men and women of this agency are going forward again to work collaboratively with you in the industry, and understanding again that it's not a perfect solution for everyone. And for those that are continuing to struggle, both either with this storm or with their businesses, we recognize your plight, and we are continuing to have dialogue with you. I want to thank you all again today for joining us. I want to thank my fellow commissioners for being here, and understand that public safety is one of our primary concerns as an agency, if not the most important. So with that, I'd like to turn that over to my fellow commissioners if they have any other opening statements. Ladies and gentlemen.
I would just like to say I really appreciate the flexibility and really the way our agents and this agency has been able to be so flexible through this and have such a wonderful open line of communication with our governor, because we really just started talking about unfortunately, once the bars had to close again, we really wanted to hear from the industries. And from our last meeting to today, this is what you see. And I just really want to encourage the over 250 people that are logged in today already. It's because we heard you, and we want to continue to hear from you. And that's how we're all going to get Texas back to work. So I just want to applaud our agency again, and the agents for keeping everybody safe, but also being able to listen to both sides and making certain things happen in a really quick manner. I've been involved in governmental affairs for, I'm not going to even age myself, for a while. And to see the government agencies turn and this governor turn so quickly is really incredible. So just thank you, everybody, for your work.
Thank you, Commissioner Marino. Any other commissioners with any comments today?
And just to echo upon, again, we are listening. This is an extremely difficult time, but we're moving as quickly as we can. This is a public health issue. A lot of this is outside of our hands, but we're doing everything that we can to support the industry while maintaining the governor's orders, while maintaining the best practices, and understanding that that is a changing dynamic as we learn more about COVID-19. And we're here to listen, to understand, and react. And I think what you're seeing today is that reaction as best we can to fit the circumstances as they're presented at the time. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here today. But we will continue to listen, we will continue to talk, and do what we can to maintain public safety and support the industry.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Boatwright, Commissioner Mack, any other thoughts before we begin? Very well. Having heard none, I would like all of us to pause a moment and reflect upon the many blessings we have for being part of this great country, despite the challenges that the entire nation, indeed the world, are facing, as we pledge our allegiance to this nation through joining me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay, we'll now move to the next item, which is administrative content. And for some reason, my technology is frozen up here. So let me see if I can get this together.
I got the same issue.
All right, thank you. Apologize for that brief delay. The next agenda item is emergency amendments to Rule 33.5, food and beverage certificates. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Staff proposes certain amendments to Rule 33.5 regarding the food and beverage certificate. Notice of these amendments were posted with the Texas Registry yesterday afternoon. These amendments are necessary on an emergency basis because of the threat to businesses caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Without these amendments, many of these establishments will be forced to close permanently within the next 30 days. Therefore, we do not have this requisite 30-day notice period where we go through the normal channels. The emergency amendments will make it easier for businesses to qualify for a food and beverage certificate. This certificate is one way in which a business can qualify as a restaurant under Governor Abbott's most recent executive order, thus authorizing it to operate for on-premise sales under limited capacity. Now, historically, TABC's food and beverage certificate rules have required commercial grade cooking equipment and have only allowed for food to be prepared on site. These amendments would do a few things to help loosen up those restrictions. First, we do away with the requirement to have commercial grade cooking equipment. Next, a restaurant will be allowed to bring on pre-made food onto the premises from another business. Also, a business could partner with a food truck and could count that food truck's food sales as part of its 51% calculation. These amendments, if passed, will become effective today, and this item is now before you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We will now vote on this emergency act. All in favor? You'll excuse me as we get our session here back to.
Chairman, do we need a motion first?
And a second.
Yes, yeah, we do. It's just my technology is a little bit slow here. My apologies. I move to adopt the emergency amendments to Rule 33.5, food and beverage certificates as recommended by staff. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack. We have a second. We will now vote.
We're waiting for 3 more votes, 2 more
Okay.
votes.
Not seeing my voter pop up.
You can verbally vote.
Then I say yes.
And Commissioner Mack?
Did you not receive the vote? I clicked.
No,
aye
sir.
on the. Okay, I vote in favor.
Thank you. Sir, they've all voted.
Okay. We have affirmative votes. The motion is passed. The next item is executive session. The commission will now go into executive session under Government Code 551.071. Regular open session of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission will be in recess. The time is now 10:45, Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Thank you. All right, the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission has concluded its executive session. It is now in regular open session. The date is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Time is 11 p.m. Next is potential action on items discussed in executive session. No action will be taken. Next announcement is the announcement of the next meeting date. The next regularly scheduled commission meeting date is planned for Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. Commissioners, do you have a problem with that date? Having heard none, neither do I. The commission is scheduled to meet on Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. Before we adjourn, I again want to thank all the members of this agency, all the commissioners, and especially the members of industry. We have over 200 people on this call now. And I just want to emphasize the importance of the word collaboration. We have always believed in public-private partnership as the most efficient way to run government. And government isn't always perfect, and neither is industry. However, I think that through this cooperation that we have forged, especially during this difficult time, it has worked to try to alleviate some of the stress and anxiety on at least a portion of the industry. Had we not, I believe, had the openness with members of industry that we've shared with the last 3 weeks, and indeed certainly over the last 6 months, none of this would be possible. So we're grateful for all those bar owners, restaurant owners, members of all three tiers who have been instrumental in helping us and being open in conversations and dialogue. And so we hope that that will continue. And we look forward to continuing to forge through this difficult time for our industry. So thank you again. Next is adjournment. The time is now 11:02 a.m. and we are adjourned. Be safe, everyone.